Because it was a very long story. It took almost 5 years to get the deal done.
So did they ever say no to your decision?
I'm sure there's going to be a time when the board's going to say no.
If it's a China market, because CITIC is already doing so well in the local market, so probably they don't need you to get into the China business.
We think that there'll be a big market in China for foreign stocks. We want to be the conduit.
去年下半年，在金融界发生了一起引人瞩目的跨国联姻。中国的中信证券全资从法国股东手中收取了里昂证券，里昂证券从此更名为中信里昂证券。今天我们荣幸地邀约到了中信里昂证券的董事长兼 CEO Jonathan Sloan。Jonathan 于1988年加入里昂证券，也正是由他牵头完成了这次跨国合并。下面就让我们来听一听，在这次跨国联姻背后有怎样的幕后故事。
1986年，南华早报的2名财经记者在香港创办了里昂证券。一直以来，里昂的销售团队和研究报告广受业内好评。2003年，其股东里昂信贷银行并入法国农业信贷集团，里昂证券亦划归到东方汇理银行旗下。2007年，与贝尔斯登合作未果的中信证券开始谋求新的国际化平台。
It's very nice to meet you, Mr. Sloan.And we know that you led the negotiation with CLSA's new shareholder, CITIC Securities. So do you want to share some behind-the-scenes stories?
Well, I think there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stories because it was a very long story. It took almost 5 years to get the deal done. We knew CITIC was out there, and one of my colleagues, Helena Wei, had a contact at CITIC. So I asked her to put us together, and I first met Yinke.So he was the first person we spoke with, and we talked for quite a while, maybe a few weeks, and decided that we had a number of things in common and that we should look at possible deal to be done between both Crédit Agricole, CLSA, and CITIC at that time.
So what was your first impression when you first meet Yinke? Because we know it's a very local person.
Well, Yinke is very focused. Yinke is very focused on what he wanted to understand about CLSA. He is, very well organized, which was helpful for me, and very honest. And, I think that what was really good was we were able to develop a very informal relationship very quickly. And then I was introduced to Wang Dongming, who's obviously very easy to get along with, very informal, very smart, understands foreign markets.Was worked at a foreign firm before. And then I got to know some of the other board members.
So just now you mentioned you have some things in common. Do you want to share more details about this?
Well, we were just talking about brokerage culture, the way we run our business. Also, their strategy, what they wanted to do internationally, what our strategy was internationally, and how they ran their business. And many of those things seem the same. So, for example, they give a lot of responsibility to keep people within the business.They decentralize a lot of planning and decision-making, and that's something that's very similar with CLSA.
So did they ever say no to your decision?
Look, CLSA operates on a day-to-day basis through its management committee, and we run the business on a day-to-day basis. Big strategic issues we always bring to our partners, but it's not so much a yes-no thing. It's more of a interaction with them on the opinions and how we do things.I'm sure there's going to be a time when the board's going to say no, and I'd always hope that we would be responsible to our shareholders, who are the public as well, to make the right decisions.
What is the thing that attracts you most from CITIC? Is that if it's a China market, because CITIC is already doing so well in the local market, so probably they don't need you to get into the China business.
Yeah, so that's correct.I mean, distribution. We want to distribute more China product globally. We have a perfect distribution network. We need more product. So that's one thing. We think that there'll be a big market in China for foreign stocks. We want to be the conduit for Chinese going abroad.
虽然是强强联合，但外界对于这2家金融巨擘能够真正实现1+1大于2的效果不乏怀疑之态，特别是两地不同市场文化、不同业务结构之间的融合。
But as we know, both are security companies. You must have some business in common, like overlaps.
Very small. It's very, very small. I mean, if you look at our business in China was very, very small. If you look at most of CLSA's business, it's global. So about 40% of our clients are U.S. domiciled, another 30% are European, another 30% are Asian. China was a very, very small business for us. If you look at CITIC, China is a very big business for them. And if you look at their international side, it's also very, very small. So there have been some areas of overlap. In some cases, we've rationalized those areas. So for example, the ECM team has come over to CLSA, and we've just brought some people over from the DCM team. In other cases, for example, China Research, we've just left that alone for the time being.
Can you give me the whole process of how you work together?
Well, it's pretty natural. It's pretty simple. Most of it happens either on the email or phone. So, Wei Wei, our salesperson in London, might say, oh, that analyst is a CITIC analyst. Let me give you that person's email address and you can ask them a question, or might set up a phone call. Similarly, a client in Beijing might have a question on Apple, which we cover out of the United States. So that person will be given the contact in the US at the CLSA office to talk about Apple.
俗话说王不见王，新格局下两家券商不可避免的需要融合进化。根据中信证券2014年年报，在并购发生5个月后，里昂证券实现1.28亿元净利润，中信证券国际净利润较2012年也获得24%的增长，外界的担心可以暂时歇一歇了。
We are just trying to figure out, is there a business increase for both companies?
I think so. I think that we have capabilities now that CITIC alone wouldn't be able to bring. So for example, CLSA has the best distribution network in both the United States and Europe for Asian stocks. We have the largest dedicated sales teams for European and Asian, Asian stocks both in Europe and the United States. We have the highest ranked team by many surveys in both of these places. Before the acquisition, CITIC didn't have that. Now CITIC has that. CITIC has the #1 reputation in China. It is the #1 investment bank in China. CLSA didn't have that. There's so many things that if you put us together, we both have, but if you take us apart, we no longer have.
How do you foresee the Chinese economy?
I'm very optimistic. And I'm optimistic for one reason, because I think that the reforms are just beginning. And the new story is going to be financial. So if the last 25 years was mercantilist China, the next 25 years will be financial China. If the last 25 years was about reforms in production, reforms in distribution, now it's going to be financial reform. And that financial reform, allowing intermediaries to determine the price of capital and where capital is allocated, is going to have a tremendous impact on the efficiency and size and scope of the Chinese economy.
不折不扣的中国公司中信证券和由一个纽约人率领的法国企业，看来在过去1年合作的还不错。中信里昂通过这次合并，拥有了广袤的中国市场，而中信里昂优秀的海外销售团队和海外研究团队，也让中信证券的跨国业务从此如虎添翼。就让我们来拭目以待，看看这2大证券巨头在未来会给大家创造怎样的惊喜。